Hi, Midpoint students, welcome back. I hope you guys all have had a wonderful summer. We are so glad to be back with you here at Celebration Church. Today we have an amazing lesson about Jesus and his friends. We're starting a new series about friends here. You know, during his time on earth, Jesus did some amazing things. And one of the things that Jesus did was he fed 5,000 people with just a small amount of bread and fish. It was an absolute miracle. But today we're going to talk about what happened immediately following that. I want to read for you guys Matthew 14, verses 22 through 23. Immediately following, after Jesus had just fed 5,000 people, the disciples were tired and they needed some rest. And so Jesus sent them off on a boat going to the next location, but Jesus stayed behind so he could pray and seek God. As the disciples were going on the boat to their location, the waves started rushing and it was just really windy, and the waves were pushing the boat so very far away. And Jesus was very far away from the disciples. But Jesus, in order to get out to his disciples, he went out and he started walking on the lake. They saw him walking on the lake and they were terrified. They said, "It's a ghost," and they cried out in fear. Right away, Jesus called out to them and he said, "Be brave, don't be afraid, it is I." "Lord, if it is you," Peter said, "tell me to walk on the water." And Jesus said to Peter, "Come." So Peter got out of the boat. He started walking towards Jesus, and it was amazing walking out on water. But then Peter took his eyes off of Jesus and he started to sink. And he said, "Lord, save me." Right away, Jesus reached out his hand and he caught him and he said, "Your faith is so small. Why would you doubt me?" When they climbed into the boat and the wind started to settle down, those in the boat worshiped Jesus and they said, "Lord, you are the Son of God." See, there were two times in this story that a friend challenged a friend. The first time, Peter challenged Jesus and he said, "Lord, if it's you, say, come to me." And Jesus accepted that challenge. And then the second challenge was Jesus calling out to Peter and saying, "Come and walk on water with me." When Peter started to sink, Jesus said, "Why do you doubt?" There was a moment where Peter had all the faith to keep him above the water. And then he thought about what he was doing and he began to sink. At first, we can say that Peter wasn't strong enough when we read the story because he started to sink. But the amazing thing is that Peter got out of the boat and started walking to Jesus. Jesus challenged Peter and Peter accepted that challenge. Now, the word challenge can mean all different things. And sometimes in our context, we think of challenge as a bad thing, like somebody's going to challenge us to do something. Through challenges, our friends can help us become more like Jesus. You know, all of my life, I have had great friends who've come alongside me and challenged me to say, "Tambra, you're doing too much. You need to rest." Or, "Tambra, why don't you think about something this way or that way? Or why don't you do something differently?" And you know, sometimes when people tell me those things, my initial thought can be one of offense. But when I really start to sit back and think about what's happening, I realize that the challenges of my friends are really to help me grow to be a better person. And challenges, although frustrating in the beginning, can really lead to breakthrough in our lives. Jesus knew that Peter could walk on the water with his help, but did Peter know that? Even if he didn't know it afterwards, Peter knew that with Jesus' strength, he could do great things. See, this wasn't the first time that Jesus and Peter interacted. This challenge came from them building a relationship together. Peter knew Jesus, and so Peter trusted Jesus. They had spent years being honest with one another. Many days together with lots and lots of little moments and opportunities for Peter to see who Jesus was and how much Jesus cared about him. Jesus didn't let Peter do it alone, but he came alongside him and he helped him. When we start to trust one another, we can be open to our friends. We can be open to people calling us to do hard and scary things, but especially if they bring us closer to Jesus. The book of Hebrews is a letter written to new Christians who were being punished for their beliefs. Some were even sent to prison. This suffering made some followers walk away from Jesus and abandon their faith. Like Peter, these followers were in the middle of a storm. Their persecution made them doubt and fear and start sinking away from their Christian faith. The letter to this group of Christians inspired them to strengthen their community. Hebrews 10:24 says, "Let us consider how we can stir up one another to love. Let us help one another do good works." We have the power to point others towards Jesus. This is the kind of friend that we can be to others and the kind of friends that we need in our lives. We need friends that can see us in our hard times and give us a hand up, just like Jesus did to Peter in the water. When we are challenged, we need friends to be friends. Friends who help us keep going even when things are tough. This is not a call to create obstacles in your friends' lives, but rather to encourage each other towards love, to good deeds, and to closeness with Jesus. When we challenge each other for these purposes, our friendships can grow stronger. When it comes to bringing more love, goodness, and kindness into the world, friends aren't afraid to challenge each other.